back. Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. I'm your host, Pat. So let's get back into the collection, shall we? Take a look at some of the LPs. We left off in the B's. Before I do that, grab my beverage here. We're listening to this right now. This is the At the Gates Gardens of Grief EP, which has the Grotesque and the Embrace of Evil release as a bonus. It's a pretty big-ass bonus. I felt that I should show this off and play this because in my black metal video that I did a couple updates back, I neglected to mention that a bunch of the Grotesque guys went on to form At the Gates, which was pointed out to me by a few people, Ben, and I think in a chat, Eric. If you didn't know, Alf Svensson and Tampa from At the Gates were in Grotesque previously. Also, Christian Necrolord Whalen, who was in Liars in Wait after that. Not a lot of people know about Liars in Wait. Liars in Wait are fucking awesome. Kind of technical Swedish death metal melodic parts. They just did one EP, Spiritually Uncontrolled Art, I believe is the name of it, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, we're in the B's towards the end. First record from the pile is Budgie, In for the Kill. Classic 70s heavy metal hard rock from Britain. The Midlands of Britain, I think. Don't quote me on that. This is the band that Metallica covered on the Garage Days Re-Revisited EP. They did. They were the band that originally did Crash Course in Brain Surgery, if you know that. Their music was very heavy for its time. A lot of people said it kind of was like early Rush combined with Black Sabbath. I think that's pretty apt. You know, the vocals are pretty rushy, and it's got that nice kind of woody, bassy 70s kind of hard rock, sort of thudding, sludgy in parts. My favorite song on this is actually a mellower kind of psych tune called Wondering What Everyone Knows. Really, really like that song. But the whole record's great. It's a ripper. Most of their records, their prime era records, are really, really good. Squawk is really good. They have a bunch of others that are great, but yeah, this is Budgie. This came out on MCA. I don't think there's really anything really too interesting with the center label, but just for sake of posterity there. Of course, it's on black. Cool record. Only thing I own by them. This is a nice clean copy. An original pressing, I believe. I picked up a year or two ago. From the same decade, we have this repress of this obscure 70s hard rock band, Bulbous Creation. Looks like they were from Kansas, Prairie Springs, according to this hype sticker here. I had downloads of this for a while before I finally picked this up. I was excited to find this. They're one of the many unsung, kind of dark, sort of proto-metal, sort of psychedelic bands from that era. There's some really good songwriting on this. I'd say if you dig stuff like Dust and 70s Pentagram and Black Sabbath, you won't be disappointed with this record. It's quite good. You won't remember dying. Bulbous Creation. I gave it a spin earlier tonight. It's a nice mellow, dark yet mellow kind of hard rock record that I've, you know, good for what ails you kind of deal. Then we got all the Bulldozer stuff here. These are all represses on FOAD. I'll go through it chronologically. First we have Day of Wrath. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Bulldozer, they were awesome, sleazy Italian speed metal kind of stuff. Very indebted to Motorhead and Venom for their sound. We're almost kind of, maybe could be considered an early black metal band, especially if you think of it in regards to the first Bathory record. They had that kind of evil, satanic thing going on with all their stuff. Just love this picture of these guys on the back. This like Chevrolet necklace and belly shirt. Fucking really good. This is pretty raw, pretty sloppy, mostly very fast. Kind of just rock and roll, speed metal kind of stuff. Awesome record. This is their first. After that, there's the FOAD re-release of The Final Separation. This they got tighter. The drumming on this is fucking incredible. Very loud drums, slightly quieter guitar. I think it gives it a kind of a cool feel, actually. But pretty much more of the same. You know, if you dig Venom, if you dig like Tank, you know, that kind of stuff, this is definitely along those lines, just way more satanic and Italian. Fucking really cool. Black vinyl. You know, center labels there. Cool band. It seems like they had a penchant for putting band members on the fronts of their covers. And they had another one that is their third record that I do not have. It's like a Roman numeral is the name. 1X, whatever that is. Which was like a oil painting of this guy. Then you have this one that's a bit of a departure, but in a good way. Neurodeliri. This is a really, really cool record, and I actually sat down and listened to the whole thing tonight because it's been at least 3 or 4 years since I've spun this. Kind of building off of what they'd already started with the traditional speed metal, early 80s speed metal, but they get a lot more thrashy and tighter. There's some stuff on this that is very, very Metallica, I feel like Master of Puppets era Metallica. Very tight in that sense, but they still have songs like We Are Italian, which is a total like fist banger kind of, you know, more Motorhead kind of thing. There's interesting keyboards all over this, some of which kind of sound like the black metal keyboards that you'd expect, and come to think of it would be kind of ahead of their time, you know, like kind of creepy black metal-y kind of sounding keyboards, like 90s black metal. But there's also even more like Hammond organ all over it, where it sounds like I don't know, like Deep Purple kind of organ, like at twice the speed, over like speed thrash metal kind of stuff. It's a really fucking rad record. I'm glad I revisited it. I think I need to pull it out and put it in the playing crate for repeated spins, because I've been neglecting it, and that is wrong, and I'm sorry. And, so those were all on FOAD, and we got a business record here. Their best album. I don't have anything else by them. Should probably grab some other stuff. This is great. Suburban Rebels by The Business. This is a reissue on Get Back Records. Released a lot of punk stuff. I think some 70s psych shit too, I think. But nice repress. I don't think this is the original cover, but I could be wrong. Just great classic London Oi. One of the best Oi bands from Great Britain in the early 80s. Very, very East End. You can tell by R.I.P. Mickey Fitz, by Mickey's vocals. He's got that heavy East End villain kind of accent, and it's great. Some of the best songs, some of the catchiest songs written for this genre. Harry May, be stuck in your head for fucking ages. Classic Drinking and Driving. Pretty much every song on this record could be a single. Blind Justice. If you've seen the UKDK documentary on UK 82 Punk, there's a great basic like music video for Blind Justice in that. Part of me wants to start singing all the choruses for all this right now to just get stoked, but I'm gonna spare you my poor imitation of a fucking British accent. Another Oi band right here. This is Camera Silence. This is a picture disc. This is French. Cool, I believe 80s stuff. I don't actually know much about this band or the whole French Oi scene. I just know the handful of bands I like Camera Silence and the Warrior Kids, who are also really good, a handful of others. Paris Violence, I remember being pretty rad. But this is, I think what set these guys apart from their UK peers was Oi is kind of melodic anyway, but this band had a real sense of harmony with like multiple parts, you know, and a little bit softer on the guitar tone and everything. Lyrics are all in French there. Fucking really great record. This came out on Sydney Town Records. This was a reissue in 2012. Despite the fact that this is a picture disc, it sounds really good. Then we got the Almighty Candlemass. I got some LPs by them. Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. Came out on Black Dragon, which was a French label too, as it happens. And I believe, yeah, Black Dragon was the label that released all the Manila Road stuff back in the day, the first couple of Manila Road records. And this is great. This is pre-Messiah Marcolin. Odd that the vocalist isn't credited as a member of the band. I guess he was a session guy. His name was Johan Langquist, but this is the beginning of, you know, that entire genre, along with Saint Vitus and a few others, as you probably know. Unlike their U.S. counterparts in Saint Vitus, Candlemass, of course, had these more operatic, more like new wave of British heavy metal kind of vocals, and which I guess Trouble did too, you know. But there was something a little bit more of a flair for the dramatic for Candlemass. Great fucking band. Solitude is the fucking jam. It's one of the best songs of this ever written in metal, period, in my opinion. One of my favorites, not my very favorite. I'll be getting to that in a minute. But yeah, it's kind of a beat up copy. It plays really well. However, there's a cut there. You can see it was like at a, you know, living at a record station at one point or another. You got this weird sort of psychedelic fantasy art on the back. Got some serious big hair there. Cool, like, silver center labels. And next we got Nightfall. Whatever I got this, it's another corner cut jobby there. A lot of these I got before a lot of this stuff was reissued on vinyl, so I just got whatever copies I could afford and kind of rolled the dice with the quality. Vinyl's in good shape, but the hype sticker's right on it, and I will read it to you right now. Landing on the metal scene in 1986 with a thunderous wall of doom metal, Candlemass's second album, Nightfall, is even heavier than the experts expected. Was there, like, dudes with seismographs? I don't know. These grooves prove that Candlemass can outdo themselves at their own deadly game of dark metal power. And then there's some, you know, snippets from Kerrang! And another magazine. But I like this one a lot, but I don't spin it nearly as much as Epicus Doomicus Metallicus or Ancient Dreams. Fantastic doom metal record, of course. First one with Messiah. Great stuff. This is a Metal Blade pressing. Let's see if they have... oh, yeah. It's got the Metal Blade axe. True sign of quality. Stay away from that Jolly Roger shit. Stick that back in. There's the one sheet there for you. Some lyrics. Cool stuff. And then I got this massive, I think I showed this off for the album art thing, this massive reissue of Ancient Dreams. And I remember this record being a challenge for me. It's odd because I was listening to some doomy stuff at the time. I think Saint Vitus I was already into, maybe Trouble. But I bought this on cassette when I was visiting family in Cincinnati. And for some reason, it didn't resonate with me at first. I actually kind of disliked it. I think it was the vocals. It was a Svart repress, by the way. Beautiful classical paintings there. Just glossy, gorgeous. But for whatever reason, something hooked me and I kept going back to it over and over again. Really nice, like, white fading into gold vinyl there. Double LP with some bonus tracks and some live tracks that I don't really need, but at least they're isolated to one side. They don't bleed into each other, which is a good thing. But yeah, that riff from Mirror Mirror, I mean, that had my head nodding, and then, you know, the vocals came in, and that was a little bit of an acquired taste, but, you know, great heavy stuff that combined all those epic qualities of Iron Maiden and other new wave of British heavy metal stuff with Merciful Fate 2, with just the doom and gloom of Sabbath, of course. Fucking masters at their craft. Then we got this kind of, I think it's an OG pressing, but it's a Music for Nations, like British pressing of The Bleeding by Cannibal Corpse. You know, their most accessible Chris Barnes record, of course. This has a printed on parental advisory. You know, if you know death metal, you know that this is a mandatory record. Last one with Barnes. It was definitely my favorite record that year when it came out. There's the Metal Blade labels. It's just on black vinyl there. Oop. Great stuff. Yeah, the most hummable, cashy death metal probably ever written, in my humble opinion. IMHO. This has a stiffener in the fucking jacket for some reason. I'm gonna leave it there. Then, organizing my splits, I have a weird system, or lack thereof. I usually put the band that I like more as the one in the alphabet, so this is the Capitalist Casualties Man is a Bastard split. This got repressed recently. Thankfully, it's a great record. The Man is a Bastard side is great as well. Just the Capitalist Casualties side is so fucking ripping and so good. Just a one-sheet deal there. Man is the Bastard was always very, very uniform with their layouts and their aesthetics and everything. Visually, it's just this stark, you know, lines. They always had the two skulls, always the same font. Capitalist Casualties being blastingly fast punk. Kind of almost grind fast, but not metal, if you haven't heard them. You know, in a lot of ways, kind of just going back to that first DRI record or Negative Effects. Maybe slightly longer songs, but not by much. They were considered part of the whole power violence movement. I feel like they had a little bit more punk rock kind of songs, kind of attitude or approach than some of the other bands. They were a little bit more political and a little less just personal and dark and stuff like that. But fucking awesome band. Just furious, furious stuff. And I think this is, if you want to pick an individual record and not some collection or something, I think this is the best thing that Cap-Kaz did. Great. Switching gears, this is the only Captain Beefheart record that I own. Really cool, Safe as Milk. One of the first, if not the first. I am no expert on Captain Beefheart. I just really like this record. Quirky, late 60s or early 70s rock and roll with a lot of odd stuff going on. Yellow Brick Road is my pick from this. There's a lot of the songwriting is pretty straightforward. I checked out some of the records after this. I'm sure I'll give them another shot at some point, but it was a little too wacky and weird for me. These songs are actually like more like pop oriented kind of stuff from the Captain, but also very avant-garde in its own right. Really, really cool. Got the reissue Carnage Dark Reflections on double gatefold on Earache. Amazing Swedish death metal. Previous and future members of Dismember played on this, as well as Michael Amott. Great stuff, you know. What can you really say? I mean, if you like Dismember and Entombed, this is certainly along those lines, you know. Overdriven, tremolo picky, maybe not as blazing speed-wise as the aforementioned, but in a little bit more labyrinthine, a little bit more dark, but a fucking fantastic record regardless. Classic Dan Seagrave artwork on that. It's just awesome shit. I got some bonuses from the demos on here. Fucking just great stuff. Dayman Lost demo and Infestation of Evil. Those two are a lot like more low end and grindy, but awesome shit, you know. If you like Entombed and Dismember and you want it a little bit more like pondering, that's pretty much where this is at. Then I had this really beat to shit copy of Symphonies of Sickness by Carcass. Again, I bought this before all those FDR reissues came out. Rolling the dice with the amount of wear and tear. This is pretty fucked. It's like a second or third pressing when they got rid of the collage artwork there. Awesome stuff, you know. Got better production for this one. You probably know the story, but classic grinding death from the UK influenced everybody and their mother. So now we're into the grotesque territory here. That's what's playing in the background, by the way. And like I was talking about, man, just precision fucking ripping, thrashing black metal. But yeah, great classic record. More cohesive songwriting. Still doing a lot of the very low gurgly vocals back and forth with the shrieky ones. It's just a great record. I love my beat to shit copy of Carcass Symphonies of Sickness, you know? Fuck it. And again, pre that stuff getting reissued, I picked up this very convincing, nice bootleg of Reek of Putrefaction. I have one of these probably from the same villains responsible for it, of Scum by Napalm Death. And I gotta hand it to whoever did this. I mean, I got the hype sticker right there. It's very authentic. I don't think the original had like this kind of matte outer cover. But, you know, this is the genesis of gore grind. Huge influence on all kinds of death metal, obviously. And one sheet looks really nice. You know, I've never owned the original copy of this, but this looks pretty legit, you know. Center labels look good too. Is that... Wano. Yeah, fucking rad, you know. It's kind of one of those things where, with this record, like going back, obviously the recording was horrendous, and that was a big bone of contention with the band and everything, but you kind of hear new stuff with it all the time, I feel like, and it's cool that the songwriting is so strong that it just shines through the murk and the swamp of the production quality. I fucking love everything Carcass did up to Necroticism, Dissenting the Insalubrious. This is a reissue. This is an FDR reissue. And they did a great job with this. Looks and sounds perfect. You know, gun to my head, I would probably say that this is my favorite Carcass record. It's probably because it was the first one that I heard when it dropped. You know, Emmett was on board for this one. I love the Surgical Tools, man. Never get sick of that. Emmett was on board for this one, obviously brought a lot more melody in. They weren't super streamlined and hadn't developed pop sensibilities like they did on Heartwork yet, which, you know, I like Heartwork, you know, I really do. But this is it for me. This is like a perfect middle ground, and has aspects of the old and the new that really rings for me more than anything else. But yeah, just vicious ripping stuff. Incarcerated Solvent Abuse, man, that fucking riff. I won't hum it for you, but I want to. Then, some of my beloved Carnivore's LPs here. I would love to have an original pressing, the self-titled. This will have to do until, you know, I find it in the wild or get a deal on it. It's pretty expensive. I don't mind the revised cover art. I don't understand why they did that. It's a Roadrunner re-release. You know, it's pretty nice. It's double gatefold. You know, for years, this was the one where I was like, yeah, a couple of songs, but the production's weird and the songs are too long, and I like the crossover stuff better, and wah. And I don't know, the past five or so years, man, it's just grown on me. It's like this urban New York fucking Venom with like a post-apocalyptic bent to it. Completely over the top, of course. Like the tender breakdown in male supremacy. These like fork and knife things on the center labels. Fucking cool. You know, there's just something about it that's just completely unique. Over the top and silly in a good way. Just awesome shit. This is like from the era when they were wearing like spiked like football pads and stuff. I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, awesome heavy fucking completely unique New York speed metal with just enough like punk attitude to really set it apart from everything else that was going on at the time. Look at that, these Road Warriors. And if you like, you got self-titled era Carnivore there. There they are, Barbarians. Then you got like, hey, what's up, Carnivore right there. Fucking, this record was a life changer for me, a game changer. This is an original pressing on Roadrunner. Look at these guys. You know, I think that around the time I got into this, I had already heard Slow, Deep, and Hard, and I didn't even know, you know, that it was people that would go on to be in Typo Negative. But the bass parts from Slow, Deep, and Hard sounded like this, so I immediately figured it out. It's pretty easy little thing to figure out. Great, heavy fucking New York hardcore, thrash metal crossover stuff. You know, I think what was great about it was the Sabbath influence, where it was these kind of tough guy breakdowns, but they were lifted directly from the Sabbath riff handbook, and it worked so well. These sardonic, tongue-in-cheek, irreverent, inflammatory lyrics. Peter Steele was not a dumb guy, you know. He really knew how to shake the tree, and he is missed. But I mean, just from the opening track with the guy fucking puking right through fucking Sex and Violence, it's fucking nonstop. It was one of the few records that, not records, but cassettes when I had it, that my dad freaked out over, made me tape over. The other one was Body Count. So yeah, that's a happy memory for me. But yeah, you know, that weird clangy steel, pun not intended, kind of bass tone on it. Just the relentlessness, the way he wove in the influences from Cro-Mags and Sick of It All with the already pre-existing fucking thrash and speed metal stuff. Like, it's one of my favorites. I mean, it's part of my intro for this fucking channel, for fuck's sake. Great stuff. Love that record, one of my favorites of all time. And then I'll just throw it out there, I got Johnny Cash at Folsom. You know, feel like people who have record collections that aren't entirely focused on one genre, you know, this is like $1 anywhere you go still. And I'm not the biggest country guy, I'm not the biggest Johnny Cash guy, but it's got some great songs, man. You know, I mean, I realized that we got this guy's music crammed down our throats through popular culture. He became very cool for a while, but I'm glad he got his just due, because he was a good musician and he had good things to say, and he wrote awesome music. I don't really get in the mood for Johnny Cash super often, but this is a fucking classic. The stage banter's awesome. I Walk the Line, I know we're probably all sick of hearing that, but it's still a fucking ripping song. Wanted Man's great. You know, it's awesome. I'm glad it's a mandatory thing for my collection, that's for sure. So, yeah, that was my update. Done with that stuff for now. I'm going to get into some collection stuff soon. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend. Ground Zero out.